scientifically proven through neuroscience, if we can get you to see the color white with your eyes closed, your brain will create opioids and take away pain better than any medicine they can give you. So we do a little exercise. So I'm going to do this little exercise with you just so you can use it at home. And this is one that we teach people to get rid of headaches. Okay, so you don't have to have a headache to do this. But if you have any discomfort in your body, you can do it. But if not, just kind of play along with me. What I want you to do is take your hand and draw a square box with it. Now, as you're drawing the square box, all pain has color and shape, okay? So even if you don't have pain, I just want you to play along. And I want you to keep that box going and close your eyes. And as you make that box going, I want you to put any of the discomfort you're feeling in your body and put it into that box and outline that box. And I'm going to count down from 3 to 1. And what I want you to do is change the color and shape, but outline the shape with your hand so I know what's going on. So I'm going to count 3, 2, 1. Change the shape and color in your mind. Now mentally, continue to count 3, 2, 1 until your shape is either gone or you see the color white. And the moment that happens, just put your hands down so I know that it's done. Take the time you need. Just practice that. Any discomfort in your body, put it into the box. And once you see the color white or it's clear, there's nothing to outline anymore, put your hand down. And then notice when you go to that area of your body, what it feels like. Most of the time, what happens as you continue that process, when the moment you see clear or white, the pain will be gone. Now, when my dad taught that to me, I was just about ready to go into surgery. I had surgery on my shoulder without any anesthetic. And what he taught me was, he said, anytime you, of course he trained me a long time before that, but he said, if you start to feel any pain in your shoulder during surgery or after surgery, I want you to practice. Now, I couldn't even put my arm up like this, so I just did it in my head. I felt no pain during the surgery, and I felt no pain after the surgery. We teach that to women who are in childbirth. They don't feel any pain either. You don't have to feel pain. Pain's optional in this reality. So we teach people how to disassociate from the pain. Now, as long as you associate with your body and the pain of your body, some people say, my knee has pain. Well, if you identify with it like that, then yeah, your knee's going to have it because you have every right to get what you believe. So your subconscious says, okay, you have pain, let's do it. Some people might not have pain, but they have a program that runs every morning before they wake up. They have to remember, oh, I have pain in my hip, or I have pain in my knee, or pain in my... So right before they wake up, this program runs, and they wake up with the pain. They go, yep, I told you, I wake up with pain. You know, but there's really no reason to do that. Because during sleep, your body is creating these brain chemicals, these endolupins, as they call them, that are causing your body to be pain-free. So as we talk about memory now, one of the biggest things that we do with neuroscience right now is because all the population in the world is getting older. You know, most people don't have children like our family. You know, very rarely do you hear someone, like when I say we had 9 kids, what they say to us in the States is, are you Mormon or are you Catholic? Because, you know, they're used to having big families. Most families will have 2 children, maybe 1 now. There's not as many children being born as there were before. So we're all getting more intelligent and better looking with age. So we want to keep our memories, right? But if we don't maintenance our memories, when you think of a negative thought, now probably no one in this room has done this, but if you've ever had a good cry, after you have that good cry, usually it tends to a good nap because that's a lot of energy you released. And it went through your nervous system and you released that energy. It takes a lot of energy to be negative, angry, and upset. And so when you finally offload that energy, now you can have fun, be out playing with your friends, doing crazy things as long as you're having a good time, and energy seems to flow through your body easily. So we want to keep, when you start maintaining your mind, the way that we train within the neural networks of what we call brain tap, what we're going to do is we're going to teach the brain several different things. So I'm going to kind of go through that today and why we do that. I talked about it yesterday. Number 1, we need to disassociate you from your problem states. They're not you. The number 1 law of psychology, remember, is you can't be a behavior. But people will say that. Number 2, we need to get you to associate with positive states, which is the little exercise we just did. If you can identify with positive states, what will happen is, if there's a crisis or a problem, you're going to go to a solution state. There's more solutions when you're feeling positive than there are when you're feeling negative. Number 3, we need to make it automatic. Because if we depend on you to do it, it's never going to happen. If it's up to you to make those changes, you get stressed out, you get worried. It's been said that 2% of your life is controlled by your conscious mind. Just 2%. But people out there in the world think they can change that 2% and change their life. You've got to change the 98%, the unconscious part of yourself. Once you change the subtle energy, the forces that are within you, you write these programs, and the programs I call mechanisms of the mind. Once you build these programs, these neural networks, they're going to be just as effective as the old bad habits, but they're going to be good habits. But you have to design them, you have to create them, you have to run them, you have to practice them, rehearse them. There's not an actress in the world that doesn't go and practice their lines before they get in front of the camera. But some people think, oh, they can't. You've got to practice your life in your mind, the life that you prefer, maybe not the one that you have right now. That's going to improve your memory. A few years back, when my grandmother was still alive, she was 96 years old, and my aunt, who wanted to go on a cruise, and she said, Patrick, would you go take care of Grandma while I go on this cruise? And I said, sure, I'll go there. It was Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was golf weather, so I could take my golf clubs, go golfing, watch Grandma. I went out golfing one day. I came back, and I hear my grandma in the room having a conversation, a long, drawn-out conversation, so I just let her talk. I thought she was on the telephone. She came out. She says, oh, when did you get home? I said, oh, I've been here for about a half hour. She said, why didn't you tell me? I said, well, you were on the telephone. She said, I wasn't on the telephone. I said, well, who are you talking to? She says, no, I was going over all of my favorite vacations. She says, I do that every afternoon. My grandma had the best memory you'd ever imagine because she remembered all the good things, especially her favorite vacations. And she remembered out loud. So she was refreshing her brain instead of just letting it go on dormant. And she didn't refresh it by watching television. You know, you can watch television or movies or whatever you want, but one thing most people don't know about television is it functions at 60 hertz or 10 cycles. The moment you sit in front of the television, you're an alpha. That means anything that's happening there is being impressed upon you, imprinted. So you should be very diligent about what you're watching. Last summer, my granddaughter, Sophia, was going to swim lessons, and they said, Grandpa, you're going to take her to swim lessons. I said, okay. When I got over there, they had fed her some sugar cereal, and she was watching television. Well, I couldn't hardly get her out of the car to go swimming, and she loved swimming. And I told my son, I said, Alex, if I'm going to take her, no television in the morning, and don't feed her any of that junk, because he knows I don't like that. And the next time I went over there, the TV was off. She had eaten a good breakfast. She jumped up. She was ready. She said, Grampy, I'm ready to go swimming. I said, Alex, I want you to see the difference here. You turn on the television, they become brain dead. So we don't want to turn on the television in the morning before they go to school. You certainly don't want to feed them sugar in the morning, any cereal, things like that. So all of that has to do with the way people think. When they're in front of the television, their brain goes numb because of what they're experiencing, the sensations and feelings that are going on in that television. Now, I want everybody to take your hands and put them together just like this. And I want you to notice the thumb that's on top. Go ahead and put them together and put one thumb on top. It's either the right thumb or the left thumb. Okay? Put them together. Now, how many people had your right thumb on top? How many people your left thumb? Does anybody know why that happened? You do? I've been doing this for 28 years and I still don't know what it is, so I'm trying to... No, what I want you to do, it means if your right thumb's on top, you're probably left brain dominant. Remember we did the little exercise yesterday, so kind of think back. If your left thumb's on top, you're probably right brain dominant. But the exercise, though, put it back together. Notice the thumb that's on top. Now roll that thumb over top of the other. What does that feel like when you put the other thumb on top? A little uncomfortable, right? That's only your thumb, right? So go ahead and shake it off. Put your hands together. Which thumb did you put on top? The new one or the old one? The new one, good. So I guarantee you if you practice this, like throughout the week, if you just when your hands come together, notice the thumbs on top, just roll the other one on top, pretty soon the new thumb will feel like the old thumb. That's neurological transition. That's neuroplasticity. Now, think about this for a moment. You've got a child that's a right brain child. They're into drama, singing, acting, they're very creative, and you put them in math class. Their whole body feels like that thumb. They don't know how to act. Their nervous system goes into overload. You take the mathematics child, the one that excels in English, and you put them in drama class, and you tell them to pretend to be a tree or something. Their whole body feels like that thumb. That's why visualization is necessary. Because when you visualize, your body doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. The same neurons wire and fire together. They've actually proven, they've taken someone and they've had them lifting weights. They put the little probes to see the muscles and nerve endings. And then after that, they've recorded those. They had them in the lab visualize doing that same exercise. The same neurons, the same part of the brain wired that was firing, the body sent signals to the brain just like it did. There's actually a university professor at Arizona State University that claims that he built his body. He's really buff, and he said he did it all through visualization because the body doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. One of the exercises that if you did the little test downstairs, when I had you imagine this, it's part of the exercise that we do on the demo. If I was to cut a lemon into quarters and to give it to each of you, and you were to take a bite of that lemon, like in the exercise downstairs, and you bite that lemon, most people, by biting that lemon and the juice spraying and smelling the lemon, just by me saying that right now, you're going to build up saliva. Because your brain is going to start to prepare you for that acidic reaction of the lemon entering into your mouth. But that was just an imagination. The other little part of this that I want to kind of show to you to kind of wrap things up, I have a few more slides, but I want to wrap it up, is if I asked most people out there, what does it take to make a change, they're going to tell me willpower. How many people think that? It takes willpower to make a change. You got to have resolve and willpower. Okay. The reality is that willpower is won't power. Okay? And I'm going to prove that to you now. So I want you to gather up all your willpower. Does everybody have it? They were passing it out down there. You get all this willpower and you get to use it. So you have all this willpower because I'm going to ask you not to do something. So with all that willpower, I'm going to ask you not to think of a dancing pink elephant. Right? Instantly, what happens? You see a dancing pink elephant, right? But what do most people do when they go to make a change? I'm not going to eat that cake. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. They think of all the things that they don't want to do, and the brain works in pictures. And those pictures send neurological responses down through the body that cause our body to respond. So when the will and the imagination are in conflict, the imagination will always win, 100% of the time. I don't care who you are. But most of the time, this happens unconsciously. That's part of that 98% we're talking about. That's where the rehearsal comes in, the practicing comes in. So as we practice and rehearse, we get more resolve. It's not that you have a better willpower, you have better resolve, you have better practice, you have better rehearsal. You know, if you've never rehearsed saying, if you were an addict, like somebody was asking me, does the brain tap work for addiction? Sure it does, because what's an addiction? An addiction primarily is grieving process for a substance they can't have anymore. So the brain is wired and fired all of their good times. It's paired experiences with a substance. And if the substance is gone, the equation doesn't work out. Happiness doesn't happen. When Buddha said all unhappiness stems from unfavorable comparisons. Do you understand that? He said all unhappiness stems from unfavorable comparisons. That's the process of life. So what I jokingly tell and he also said something that's real important. He said, cease expecting and you have all things, right? Which is very true. But in the world we live in, I tell people you've got to do the exact opposite just for a moment in Zen Buddhism. You have to expect everything and be happy of something. Because you're not going to get it all, but you've got to be open to the field of possibility. If you're not, then you won't get anything. It'll say, oh, we're going to go back to default. So we've got to think in the world of infinite possibilities, all the greatness that can happen. What's the possibility for you? Like, how could this conference transform your life? What would be different tomorrow if you knew you couldn't fail is one of the questions that we ask in NLP. Because a lot of times what happens is you start to think about what you can accomplish, then all this baggage shows up. So we want to get rid of the baggage. One of the things that we're going to do when I wrap this up just very quickly is I'm going to help you create a success reel. In the world of movies and things like that, they call it a sizzle reel. So you should all have your own sizzle reel. That's your 5 or 6 best times in your life. And when you think about them, you just like me right now, just think about it, my hair stands on end. Energy just runs through your body. It electrifies your body. It makes your life worth living. And you recharge, revitalize, revivify those experiences. So let's just roll through this, and then we're going to end with that. So we just talked about neuroplasticity, kicking the brain into recovery. We're going to increase the circulation, reduce the inflammation. Now, when we're doing that, what the lights are doing, lights will trigger the lymphatic system. I talked a little bit about that yesterday. If you don't trigger the lymphatic system through breathing, through mild exercise, it doesn't have to be strong exercise, but you can do breathing. Walking does it. You can use the whole body vibration, cellular exercise like jumping on a mini tramp, some way to get that out. Now, we're going to produce, by using light and sound, you're going to produce energy at the mitochondria level. We're going to turn on the cell's natural energy source. And then it's going to bring nutrients to the cells. Without blood flow and circulation, I don't care what nutrients you take. It doesn't matter because it doesn't get to where it's necessary. So you've got to increase the blood flow and circulation. So remember we talked about this yesterday. We're going to increase these 3 T's. We're going to eliminate the trauma, at least the emotional trauma that happened from any experience. When it was asked earlier, I've worked with a lot of medical professionals. I might not be able to work on their trauma, but I can work on the emotional connection to that trauma. We call this phantom pain. Just like if you cut off your hand, there'd still be a phantom leaf effect. The energy source for your hand would still be there. People, most of the time when I would see people for weight issues, it stemmed from a traumatic experience that happened to them earlier in their life. Once we cleared that traumatic experience, that phantom effect, if you will, their life returned back to normal. Because their life, on the timeline of their life, they had a fracture. You've got to resolve those fractures. And once you do, and that's just clearing them. You don't have to know what they are. Here's the way you need to think about your memories. Let's say that you and I went out to dinner. We went to your favorite restaurant. We loved it. It was great. But we were talking so much we didn't eat it all. So we've got to-go boxes. Right? We got a little white to-go box, and we put it in our refrigerator. When we put it in our refrigerator, we really intended to eat it, but we got busy, and it got pushed to the back of the refrigerator. Every day we walked in, we opened up our refrigerator, something's stinking in there. But we didn't do anything about it. We open up the refrigerator, it stinks. We close the